And if you go to pupillage vacancies, after you've logged in and down to questionnaires, what you'll see this year is you'll see a questionnaire under your own hierarchy that says 2025. So once you've just opened your questionnaire, if you're new, then we'll need to create you a new questionnaire for you to actually complete. What you will see when you come in here, you'll see AETO application questions and the chamber's name. And then you just click on it or click the edit button and it will open up that questionnaire for you. Now you can ask up to 7 bespoke questionnaires. You don't have to ask the obligatory Bar Council ones anymore, which are why do you believe you'll make a good barrister and why do you want to join our chambers? They will automatically be there, but if you don't want to ask them, you can actually just type over them to whatever you wish that question to say. On the second box here, you have guidelines for users. So if there is actual guidance that you want to give the candidates, maybe from last year, that they didn't answer it in the way that you wanted them to, you can provide them some guidelines for when they answer the question. Now, each question is already set to a required question. If there is a question that you want to ask that isn't a required question, you can just toggle this off. Please do not toggle on answers visible to privileged managers only, because that won't be visible to anyone apart from super users, which is myself. You also have the option here to give the question a validation. So we suggest that the only ones that you do is minimum maximum word count. Once that is selected, you can insert a minimum of 1 word and a maximum of anything you like, so maybe 300 words. If you don't want to have a limit on there, you just leave it as not applicable. Once you've typed in all 7 questions, if you think actually question 6 should come before question 5, you can scroll back up, hover over these boxes here, and you'll get this 4-pointed arrow, and you can just drag it above the question where you want it to be in the actual order. And then once you're happy with the questionnaire, you just click finish and that will save your questionnaire for you. That's now your questionnaire done, and you can move on to actually creating your vacancy. So in order to create a vacancy, if you go to Pupillage Vacancies and add new vacancy, a job setup page will pre-populate. The first thing that you need to do is choose the job template that you'd like to use. So where the filter template section, if you leave it as AETO and come down to here and pick the pupillage vacancy template. This will now pre-populate the template and ask you to complete all the required questions. So under organisation, you search the organisation for yourself. Under pupillage title, you put the name of your chambers, the length of pupillage, and the start date. The pupillage vacancy reference is the reference that you give the Bar Standards Board once you take on a pupil next year. That's already pre-populated and it'll be greyed out because it cannot be amended. Then you put in the amount of vacancies available. And then find your start date. So you'll see that some fields are already pre-populated. These do not need to be amended. It's just the ones where you've got the asterisks. So if you put pupillage type, it's 12 months. Again, it's a full-time pupillage. So you have the pupillage award now. So if you do have a to and from amount, you can put them in here. If you have a fixed or partially fixed fee and it's just one amount, we suggest that you actually just type the amount into this box here. This box will override whatever you put into these sections here. So you don't need to fill out both. You just need to choose one or the other. Then you put the location of your vacancy. So what this will do is when the candidate sees the actual job vacancy, it will give them the location of where you are situated on the vacancy itself. And then you select your circuit, select the AETO. At this section here where it says do not enter text is exactly what it means. Please don't enter any text there. And this is this section complete. Then you come down to the job application setting, and we would require you to, at the moment, to tick to prevent ATS applications. Otherwise, candidates will start to be able to apply for your job from the minute that the application opens on the 25th of October. And next is the candidate processing section. So for the email pack, you should select default. For the onboarding packages, you have two different options here. You have the Bar Council standardized reference checks and the Bar Council standardized reference details. The reference checks will automatically ask the candidate to submit their referees, and then that will automatically, once they've completed it, send the actual referees themselves to complete and send back to the ATS. For the Bar Council standardised referee details, that again will automatically send the candidate the option to fill out their referees and send it back into the system. However, it won't automatically send to the referees themselves. You can either choose to email them outside of the gateway, or if you want to check them first before you actually send out the reference checks, you can actually just click a button through the gateway and send them off at a different point in time. The animation section is available if you do click on enable animation at the end. When you actually click hire for someone, it will send confetti out on your screen. It won't send it out for the candidate who you think would actually get the animation. It sends it out to yourselves for actually hiring someone. So that's what that section does. The anonymized application section, we would advise you to actually select. So if you are anonymizing CVs, if you check this button here, it will check both of these sections, which it should do. Then what we ask you to do is select one of the policies. So you can either have just the personal details anonymized, the personal details and academic institutions anonymized. If you do click system default, however, it will anonymize the dates that they worked at these institutions, and it will anonymize the education work experience dates that they worked at them institutions as well. So please just choose either nothing, personalized details, or personal details and academic institutions. So we don't have shortlisting criteria at the moment. It's not a function of the gateway, so you can skip past this stage. And then you have the interview stage. So you have interview workflow. So if you don't select anything here, it would be the normal workflow of the system where you'd have to create interviews through the ATS, and then you can either allocate them to the candidates or you can ask the candidates to actually choose the slot. If you're not arranging your interviews through the ATS itself, if you click interviews external, it will allow you to move through the process, move the candidates to interview stage, but not actually ask you to set up the actual interviews themselves through the gateway. And then that's the finish of that section there, and then you go down to job dates. So the valid to dates from is the date that the candidates will be able to see the actual interviews themselves. And the expiry date is the date that they will close in January. And you make them visible to everyone, and then you click next. The next section of you setting up your job is about yourselves. The first thing that you need to do is upload your logo. When you log in, you'll see that you have this contents assistant feedback. You can use this, you can choose not to use it. It's there as an added tool. So you'll see that you have two descriptions. You've got a single description internal and single description external. You can leave the internal boxes. This is for like when internal candidates apply to your job roles, which won't be happening during pupillage. So the only box that you need to fill out is a single description external. And in this section, we ask you to fill out different sections. So the first one that we ask you to do is just give you a little bit of information about your AETO itself. The next is the structure of the pupillage. The next section is financial and other support available. Then any information in relation to equality, diversity and inclusion. The next section is about any AI policies that you have in relation to the candidates applying for this role. So you can either choose to upload a document here in relation to your AI policy, or you can actually just specify what you expect of the candidates in this section. And then in the section of how to apply, you would then put the 7 questions along with the validations that you used within the actual bespoke questionnaire, so that candidates will be able to see the questionnaires in advance and prepare for them, because as you're aware, this year there's only a 3-week window for the candidates to actually apply. Then the next part of that, you come down to this section here where it says please tag the areas of practice. So we ask you in this section to name any searchable words that candidates can use when they're actually searching for a job. So we've got the ones here like commercial, crime, family, employed, etc., so that they can search them easily within the search functionality. Once that's done, you can click external preview and it will show you what your job advert will look like. So this is what your vacancy will look like to the candidate. Once it's all filled out, obviously it'll be a lot bigger than this. And once you're happy, you can click next. And unlike my screen, which is actually going to post the job advert, what you'll see on the next screen is a screen that will ask you to email the Bar Council in order to authorize the advert itself. If you click authorize, that email will come through to a member of my team. We will then go into the advert, check that all the dates are correct throughout the vacancy, check that you've enabled the prevent ATS applications, and then authorize the vacancy. So when they go live to candidates, everything will be in order.